We're here.
Back?
This is us. We made it. Paul, we made it. Talking, let me make sure I got you.
And so
Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah.
know that
I have sound.
on the computer would not work. So be it. It's I was telling Jason, so you're having one of those days, and I said, well, to come to think about it, actually, so I go to Boston Market, which is actually pretty good, to get lunch for the crew here, and I walk in, and some guy is ordering 16 meals for the office. Now, mind you, this isn't McDonald's where you get 20 hamburgers and some fries. Boston Market, there's chicken, there's pot pies, there's meat.
Everything.
So it takes a few to make a meal. And some lady was there before me, waited 20 minutes for a pot pie, and I'm thinking, dude, and I told him, you should have ordered this online and pick it up. This is not the type of place where you walk in and order 16 meals at lunchtime.
Yeah,
And
wow.
nice enough guy. Oh yeah, I'm sorry and whatever. I told the lady behind the counter, I said, if it was me, I said I would tell that gentleman, look, I'm as people come in, I'm going to have to take their order. You're going to have to wait because it literally took 30 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
I almost walked out, but whatever. I'm not in any real hurry, but
Yeah.
there's a reason why people can order online if you have 20 or 30 meals like that.
Yeah. I was just asking because I was literally telling my wife a couple of minutes ago how frustrated. I don't know why I'm frustrated today, but I just woke up. Everything is making me mad, And then my kids were playing outside, and my son ran inside to get water, but he left my 2-year-old outside by himself, riding down the sidewalk toward the road. And I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, I'm just having to do everything I can to rein in the Hulk, like to stop from being mad. Oh,
All right, enough of our bitching like old
yeah,
women.
yeah, right. Yeah, let's do that. Let's move on. What do we got? But we've got road rage today, Paul. What do you mean?
Right, so we segued into that. Literally, a client called and said, "Hey, I've got this issue where," and we have a video of it of his dash cam. So he's heading on 275, and he's going to get off, which you'll see here in a minute at Himes exit. He's got his kids in his car. It's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a moderate traffic, and you'll see as he's merging into the lane, the exit lane for Himes.
Well, there's no sound in the video, so if you want to narrate it while we watch it, we could do that.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right.
All right. So anyway, he's heading towards the Himes exit. There's an Audi in front of him. So as he starts to move over, my guess is there was a motorcycle there. See how that he didn't realize the motorcyclist that gave him the finger and then started to brake check him and slow down. As you can see, the Audi going. So my client, with his kids in the car, decides just to go around the motorcyclist. Well, look at the motorcyclist. Cuts between the Audi and
Yikes. Ooh.
brake check. Well, he brake checked one too many times. My client popped him in the ass by mistake. So the guy gets out, and you can look at him. Kind of looks like a biker dude, whatever. I don't know. Could be a nice enough guy. Who the heck knows? But either way, he's pissed. The bike falls over as he's trying to put the kickstand down. He grabs his phone. He's actually screaming at my client. Kids are in the car.
Wow.
Client says, "Hey, look, let's am I going ahead of time?" Okay, so he grabs his phone after the little brief conversation. Client says, "Look, let's pull around to this parking lot right to the right." Now, I probably would not have done that given the finger, the fact he cut me off, the brake checking. I would have called the police or whatever.
Oh, well.
Either way, the client pulls into the parking lot. The motorcyclist never shows up. And then the motorcyclist claims a hit and run. And I'm like, well, client, clearly not a hit and run. And so I wouldn't worry about any, involvement with the authorities on that. But then, of course, the guy somehow funny enough, tracks down our client and contacts Geico and gives the story, his version of the events. So I called client. Our guy's not injured, but this guy's claiming to be injured. Now, mind you, watch. This is the mechanism of his injuries. So let's watch the video. And again, look, he almost got killed. I mean, look
Yeah,
how
he
close
did. Was he?
that Audi in the client. But this is the love tap where he sustained serious injuries because he's telling Geico he was injured as a result of the rear end collision. So I sent Geico the video and said, "This guy ain't hurt. It's ridiculous." And in fact, my client's not at fault because this guy is trying to break and or who knows, road rage. You know, this is. I got to be honest. If I'm my client and this guy comes up to my window, there would in his face.
Is this Danny LaRusso from Karate Kid?
This and then come up to my car with the kids? Oh no! I'd say, buddy, you need to get back on that motorcycle, and we'll wait for the police. But either way, that leads to the. All right, so that's the video. That was something to start the show, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, is there any case law nowadays talking about road rage and intentional conduct? And lo and behold, on June the 15th, 2022, I remember reading a case and what happened. So uh, a son, Richard, gets in a fight with his girlfriend, and there's some violence. He takes his mother's car and is going to leave. Well, the neighbor hears about the the scream and holler and whatever, and comes over and confronts the son. The son initially just pulls off, but I don't know. I guess he didn't like what the neighbor said, so he puts the car in reverse. And what's he do? That's right. He runs him over.
What?
Not funny, but that's what he did. So the neighbor, and Jason, all I see on my screen is the video and your computer screen.
You're good. I'm fixing some other stuff while we're talking.
The neighbor sues of course the son, the driver, but also the mother, who's the owner of the car. Now, under what's called vicarious liability, dangerous instrumentality doctrine, and we've talked about it, just means that the owner of the car is basically responsible for any injuries or damage done, just as the driver is. But there are some exceptions that we talked about the last week or two. A stolen car, the owner would not be liable for the. Number two is if you take your car to a mechanic and your mechanic's out test driving your car and somehow crashes and injured someone, the owner of the car is also not responsible. And in a situation of road rage such as this, the owner, you would think, would not be responsible as well because it's an intentional tort, meaning this kid intentionally put the car in reverse and ran over the neighbor. But a very witting attorney said, well, wait a minute. How about negligent entrustment? And what is that? Well, that's when you give your car to someone that more or less has a history of poor driving, maybe a history of accidents, maybe a history of driving under the influence and things of that nature. So what is the district court? Of course, the mother moves for a directed verdict saying, look, this was an intentional tort. My son, ran over the neighbor, and therefore I'm not vicariously liable based on those facts. Well, the lawyer ran a background check on the son, and guess what the son had?
A record?
Horrible driving history, right?
Jeez.
And guess what else he found? The son lived with the mother because you can find the addresses of where where you're living at the time. The son lived with the mother at the time of all of these traffic offenses. The appellate court said, well, given that, the mother can be responsible under the dangerous instrumentality doctrine. So,
Wow.
Jason, what is the moral of this story? If
Which
owner,
one?
owner of a car, once again, you may be responsible for any injuries or damages caused, even if the person you loan your car to or you let your car be driven by, uh, 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 what does that not create, but it has an intentional tort, intentional misconduct, rams somebody, runs them over, or whatever.
Yeah.
So once again, if you're going to loan your car to someone or let someone drive your car, you should basically do that with the understanding that if this person causes injury or property damage, I'm responsible. And so then if you're not comfortable, put it this, you wouldn't let that person, mow your yard because of their irresponsibility. You may not want to let them drive your car.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually had a viewer say, don't let anybody drive your car is the moral of the story.
Well, I mean, it's just you're certainly putting your um,
Everything
uh,
at risk.
financial hands in the or your financial situation in the hands of someone else. That's for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and so again, and if you ride with someone and they're crazy, crazy drivers, you're like, well, you ain't driving my car, bro. But anyway,
Wow. That's
that's
crazy.
consider, and then uh, and that's all I got for you.
So no road rage.
Deep breath. We're going to try to figure out what's wrong with my computer Zoom week, and I believe it or not, I use it quite often with court hearings, depositions, mediation, things of that nature. Who knows? I'll probably have to turn the computer off, turn it back on, and see. But otherwise, it's August the 5th. It is extremely hot out, but that will last probably only another month. It will tend to start getting a little cooler, not cool, but cooler in September. The Buccaneers open training camp this week. The Rays are still right up there for a wild card. Believe it or not, hard to believe the Lightning will crank it up here soon. Um,
So we
Jason,
did have a question come in. He says, does it affect you in court with the law besides financially if somebody's driving your car like that and intentionally hits somebody?
no, no, you will not. You cannot be criminally charged. Well, I should back up. Um, Theoretically, if you allow an intoxicated person to drive your car, then you really could be, I believe, charged with some form of negligent homicide or something that if they kill somebody, if you actually said, I know you're drunk or you're the two of you are at a bar and y'all sat there and hammered beers, shots all night long, and you're like, well, I'll let you drive. That way, if we get pulled over or there's an accident, I'm good to go. I don't believe you would skirt the criminal justice system based on those facts. But
Okay.
you loan your someone or you let your child drive it and then they, get in a fight or in some kind of argument and they mow somebody over, then no, you would not have criminal sanctions on those facts. Remember, a lot of the law is based on the facts as presented. And so, again, if you loan it to somebody you know is intoxicated, I think that you're subject to uh, charges. If someone just is borrowing your car, they, they do something stupid, then no.
Got you. Yeah, that's what the person was commenting. They asked about that actually after. So
Yeah, no, that's fine. I hope I answered your question. All right, Jason. Well, I guess take us out.
all right,
Everybody,
cool.
thanks for tuning in or watching this at a later date. We will get the computer Zoom back on so you can have a little better view of my smiling face. Hope your day gets better and you don't have to hawk out on your kids. Recommend alcohol, but hey, that's just me.
On that note, though, but don't let them drive.
Your kid's 2 years old. She can fool around all she wants on her tricycle.
It's just true. It's true. All right, guys. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see y'all next week.